Here we go, baby. Friday. I'm hyped. Had a great time last night. I didn't even introduce myself. My name is Avi. Thank you so much for joining me today. Oh man, I'm really stoked to bring you this one. We got a fun one on our hands. I'm especially hyped. Yesterday I got that 36-hour fast in. Also saw the Avatar: The Last Airbender in concert. So sick. That's where I got this hat at. If you're an Avatar fan, can't talk. If you're an Avatar fan, leave in the comments what your favorite character is. I'm Zuko all the way. Let's fucking go. Um, anyway, though, this is gonna be a really fun one. I'm very excited to bring you this video. I just got done with like a 2.5 hour call with my boy. I'm not gonna mention his name because I don't want his partner to see this and think some bad things about him. Yeah, because we're about to get into some taboo subjects, if you know what I'm saying. And the subject for today, well, I guess I'll just talk about what was the conversation? How did it even come up? It has to do with monogamy, I'll tell you that. And polygamy. Monogamy versus polygamy. So, how did this even come to be? Well, I think we were kind of talking about, would his girl, would his girl be okay with like basically an open relationship? And he was like, hell fucking no. And we kind of talked about why she feels that way, which isn't as relevant to when I asked him, would you be open to an open relationship though? Is that something you're interested in? And my friend was like, to be honest, I don't know if I could do it. I think I would be anxious. And I was like, what do you think you'd be anxious about? Well, he was like, I might be jealous, honestly, if there was guys in the picture that weren't me and she's going and fucking them, and whether I know about it or not. Like, if you do know about it, that's bad. But also, if you don't know about it, that kind of can just let your emotions, your anxiety just run wild. Real quick, by the way, check this out. Absolutely stunning over here. Sorry, just had to show you that. But anyway, yeah, he was like, I would just get really jealous. So then I asked him, all right, jealousy is like kind of a cop-out emotion. I feel like a lot of the time underneath jealousy is fear or shame, possibly even. But a lot of time it's like fear of abandonment, fear of being alone. So then I asked him, well, let's just do a negative visualization, right? Negative visualization is a stoic practice. Highly recommend. It's an incredible tool in your resilience tool belt, if you will. And the idea with negative visualization is you ask yourself, what is the worst possible case scenario for whatever it is you're dealing with, right? In this case, let's just say your partner cheats on you. They madly fall in love with the person they cheated with, and then they leave you, right? So worst case scenario is you're alone and heartbroken, right? So from that, I was like, do you think the fear is being alone then? And then my friend was like, yeah, that's definitely a part of it, right? Like if your partner cheats on you, there's definitely the fear of abandonment, fear that they're going to leave you. But we both agreed that wasn't entirely satisfying. Like there's more to the puzzle. So us being the intrepid, attempted philosophers that we are, we were like, all right, well, let's dig a little deeper. So what else could be at play there? And then my friend was like, well, I think when you think about someone cheating on you, when you think about your partner cheating on you, there's a fear of inferiority, of feeling inferior, right? Like, oh, she chose this other guy over you. Like you got passed up. You were gum on the bottom of someone's shoe. And meanwhile, there's this other knight in shining armor that comes to basically just sweep her off her feet. And so the fear of inferiority is really interesting to me, though, because it's like, why is that actually that big of a deal, right? I get it. Like, it never feels good to be like, if you're like a little kid and they're picking teams for sports, it never feels good to be the last person picked in sports, right? Obviously, it doesn't feel good to be perceived as incompetent or inferior in a social context. But I feel like the degree to which people fear cheating And I'm not trying to invalidate it. Totally valid. I have a fear of cheating too. I'm the worst amongst them all. But it's worth asking from a scientific perspective, like, why is it that bad? Like, why do we fear it that much? Because going back to like the kickball example, or a kid getting picked for sports, I just think of kickball because we played kickball a lot when I was growing up. But it's like, if you don't get picked, or you're like the last person picked, that feels like shit, but I feel like it doesn't quite match what's going on there in a romantic setting, which makes sense because the stakes are higher, but the core emotion feels similar, right? It's like you're feeling inadequate in comparison to someone else, which really that's just a form of shame, right? What is shame? Shame is the perception. Well, we got to differentiate between guilt and shame, right? Guilt is like, yo, I did something wrong, but I'm not a bad person. I just need to correct my mistake and move forward, right? So when someone feels guilty, they don't perceive their shortcoming in that moment, their mistake, as a reflection of who they are as a person. I would argue that's healthy, right? We want to be able to have an honest examination of ourselves and how we're maybe falling short without berating ourselves or without belittling ourselves and telling ourselves, oh, you're nothing. Like, that's not good. Having an excessively bad self-image is not good. Having an excessively high self-image is not good, right? That's narcissism. We want to be right in that middle ground of like humble, quiet confidence. Like, you generally believe you're capable of things if you put your mind to it and apply yourself, but you also don't think you're the best thing since sliced bread. And you also don't think that you're just worthless. Like, that's obviously not good either. That just feels like shit. And also, you just generally won't be very accomplished in anything. You won't put effort in anything because you just don't believe you're worth it, right? So anyway, back to the thing here, which was, and now you're seeing me getting off on one of my tangents. I'm trying to regain the thought train here. What the hell were we just talking about, right? We were talking about the kids in sports, the core emotion there, the inferiority, feeling passed up. Okay, we're bringing it back. All right, so if your partner chooses someone else, you're feeling passed up. What's really going on there, right? Like, why does the fear of being inferior exist, in other words, right? I'm going to argue, and this is going to sound kind of fucking crazy. So this is where it gets controversial. I'm going to argue that fear of cheating, of course, there's the fear of loneliness, being abandoned, like we talked about earlier, but I'm going to actually argue that fear of cheating is at least partially related to fear of death. Now, hear me out. I know you're like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Fear of cheating and fear of death? What? Okay, this is what I mean. Nowadays, if you feel shameful, we were talking about guilt and shame. I got to finish that real quick. Okay, so shame, guilt is like you did something wrong, but it's not about you as a person. You just got to make the adjustment and you go forward. You still view yourself as like a decent human being, right? Growth mindset, in other words. Shame is like, oh, there's something fundamentally fucked up with me. And generally, that's not healthy because it doesn't lead to a constructive growth mindset where you're like, hey, I feel capable of change. If I just have a good mindset, take these steps, stay persistent, over time, I'm capable of change, right? That would be growth mindset. But if you're shameful, you're just like, oh, I guess I'm just fucked up and that's how it is. Like, I'm incorrigible, irredeemable, right? Shame is ultimately, like, especially when it's about something that's really not that fucking big of a deal. Like, if you grew up in a religious household and you're like shameful of your choice in sexual partner or when you had sex, like, that's fucking bullshit. That's one of the main reasons why religion just kind of sucks, is it makes people feel shameful for things that they really shouldn't be shameful of. And I believe in DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. I believe they call this unjustified shame. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a DBT expert. I've heard a little bit about it, but I think that term unjustified shame is definitely relevant here, right? So it's good to be aware of what's justified, what's unjustified shame. Okay, so now that we have a little bit more of an understanding on guilt and shame, I want to dive back into the original thing here, which is this crazy claim I'm making that fear of cheating is at least partially related to fear of death. All right. What's step one? We gotta logically assess this, right? This is kind of like a proof in geometry. If you ever fucking did that shit in school, proofs sucked back then. For geometry, they definitely suck. But this is gonna be fun, I promise. All right, so step one is we talked about fear of being inferior. We need to take a step back to hunter-gatherer times. Nowadays, if you do, well, before we go into hunter-gatherer times, sorry, I'm all over the fucking place today. Bear with me, bear with me. I'm having a hard time here, but we're going with it. We're going with it. Okay, so nowadays, if you fuck up or do something stupid, like, yeah, you'll be socially criticized and condemned for it for sure, and people will probably gossip about you, but you won't die. That's actually very different from 100,000 years ago, for example. If you did something that severely upset the members of the tribe and then they gossiped about you, and then separate from your presence, they all mutually agreed that you were not a good person to have in the tribe, that you were a liability, and that you made them more of a target for predators or whatever. If they, for whatever reason, agree that you were not a good person to have around, they would banish you. And banishment was not just banishment, right? Banishment was death, because the way the ancient human beings survived was not as solo units. They had to band together, hence the name tribe or band or whatever, right? They have to work together, use their intelligence. That's how humans survived. It wasn't by being the strongest or the fastest or the most anything really other than intelligence. We could use our intelligence and our social intelligence specifically to come together and formulate novel and, yeah, strategically intelligent solutions to problems, right? But that whole system fails if you're on your own. If you're on your own, you're a fucking easy target. Easy target for anything, dude. Saber-toothed tiger on your ass. I mean, who fucking knows what was actually eating humans at the exact time period, right? I'm just kind of speaking out of turn, but you get what I'm saying. If you were in the ancient African savannah 100,000 years ago and you got banished from your tribe and you're just on your own, you're gonna die. Whether from a predator, starvation, fucking something's gonna get you, man. Because the only way you could survive was your band. So therefore, over time, the human beings that had the most sensitive shame radar, and by shame radar, they were like really, really hyper vigilant of all of their actions, and they were very afraid of how their actions were perceived by others. In other words, caring what other people think of you. Ever wondered why you care about what other people think of you? Because all the fucking people that had to have sex and procreate for you to live in this exact moment, all those people, like, by definition, survived. And how did they survive? Part of it was that they didn't get banished from their tribe. And the way they did not get banished from their tribe was they were very concerned with every little action, every little word, and how it could be perceived by others, how it could be misconstrued, taken out of turn, how it could be gossiped about, and how it could eventually lead to worst case scenario of banishment, which is equivalent to death, right? So by definition, the people, this is just natural selection. The people who were most sensitive or most afraid of being ridiculed and gossiped about and then potentially banished because of their actions that weren't aligned with the tribe's values, those people tended to survive and procreate and eventually lead to you and everyone else on the planet currently, right? Whereas people who were aloof morally, in other words, shameless people, so people who were very inclined towards shame, tended to survive, right? Because they were most concerned about what others thought of them, and therefore they tended to avoid things that would cause them to get banished. So they actually lived and procreated. Whereas people who were aloof morally, people who just kind of did whatever the fuck they wanted and didn't really give a shit about what other people think, whether by genetic mutation or some other reason, who fucking knows? But whatever the reason, these people who were morally aloof and just generally were more shameless, like their shame radar was like way turned down, they tended to get banished more often because they would just do something really reckless and stupid that the other tribe members would be like, like, fuck this guy. We don't fucking need this guy. Fuck him. Like, you know, and they just kick your ass out of the tribe, or they just kill you on the spot, either one. But that person was not very likely to procreate, right? So now we can see that there is a reason that most of us have a really hard time with not caring what others think of us. Hint, hint, it's not really possible to fully stop caring what others think of you. You can just change what you're focusing on. Like, yeah, it's tough, right? You can't just tell yourself, oh, like, I'm not going to compare myself to others, or I'm not going to care what they think of me. All you can do is compare yourself to others for better reasons and care about what they're thinking of you that actually matters, right? So instead of caring what they think about your fucking watch, your $5,000 watch, you should be like, hey, like, I want to care, or I want to care what other people think of my character. Like, do other people think I'm honest? Do they think I'm reliable? Do they think I have integrity or courage, right? Those are generally things to be concerned about that are good, right? Giving a fuck about like, oh, I have the latest Chevy Tahoe. Who the fuck cares, dude? Like, that does not actually fucking matter. You're gonna die soon. Who fucking cares about the Chevy Tahoe? That shit is not gonna fucking matter, right? Okay, so back to the main point here. Those people who were more shame oriented tended to survive more. And therefore, those people are the people of today, which leads back to the cheating thing, right? So if cheating, we're kind of arguing here that, yeah, there's the fear of course, abandonment and being alone. That sucks dick. Anyone who's been single for long enough knows that that typically sucks. Then again, there are people who really, really enjoy the single life. And if that's you, fuck yeah. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy it sometimes, but yeah, just being alone all the time fucking sucks. I definitely crave companionship and partnership. So, and I think a lot of people feel that way. I would say probably more than half of human beings feel that way. Could be wrong, but just saying that. But we've got this dual prong thing of like, okay, fear of cheating is fear of abandonment / being alone. But then this other half of fear of being inferior, fear of being passed up, which if we're going back to our hunter-gatherer terms, right, if we were passed up by someone else, if the tribe felt like, yo, this guy is fucking inferior. In other words, if we feel inferior, we feel shameful. We feel like there's something wrong with us. We feel like, oh, fuck, others might gossip about us and then kick us out of the tribe, right? Even though in the modern day, that makes no sense rationally. But our brains are not, our brains were sculpted by natural selection, by evolutionary pressures. It's not entirely rational. Our brains have capacity for rationality, but a lot of shit about the human brain makes no goddamn sense. And this is one of them. Even though we logically know if we say something out of turn and do something stupid in 21st century America, generally speaking, you're not going to get killed for that, which is great. That's fucking fantastic, because unfortunately that's not true in every spot in the world. And that is a reason why, even though America's got a lot of problems, I'm very grateful to be here. But you won't get fucking killed. If you just say something stupid, yeah, you'll be ridiculed. You'll be condemned. You'll be made fun of, probably humiliated in front of everyone in your social circle. But life will go on, right? That said, that's not what is true of all those generations, those thousands, tens of thousands of generations of hunter-gatherers that formed your genetic lineage that came before you. For them, it was not as simple as just saying something out of turn and you get chastised. That often meant death, right? So your brain is sculpted. It is literally genetically, from every standpoint, it is wired to draw this tantamount connection between shame / inferiority and like, oh my God, I'm getting close to death, right? Like those two things in the brain are pretty much synonymous, if not synonymous, very closely related. Like it's a hop, skip, and a jump away. So in other words, when you feel like a profound sense of inferiority, it brings up all that thing of like, fuck, what do the rest of my tribe mates think I'm inferior? What if they think I'm dead weight? What if they think I have nothing useful to offer? Or even worse, what if they think I'm actually an active liability to the tribe and I'm increasing the risk of them getting killed or losing resources or whatever it may be? Then you fucking die, right? So fear of cheating, yeah, we've got one prong of fear of loneliness, but if we're taking the other prong, fear of being inferior, fear of being passed up by, you know, some other guy or chosen, you know, rejected in favor of some other fucking dude, and that makes you feel like, fuck, like I'm nothing, and then you're just one step away from dying, one step away from banishment. So even though logically we don't sit there and think, oh, I'm afraid of cheating, I'm afraid of death, on a core level, I'm arguing on a very, very deep level, like way, way, way subconscious here. You're not sitting there thinking about it in your mind, unless after this video you do. But before this video, it's so deep and it spans so many generations, right? It's kind of like using Avatar as the example, right? Like when Aang goes into the Avatar state, like all the avatars light up, right? All of his past lives, all of his past generations. In a way, Your shame is an innervation of all these past generations of hunter-gatherers that came before you. And their experiences sculpted your brain. They drove your brain to become what it is, your DNA to become what it is. And unfortunately, that just means that we fear being inferior like we fear death, because that's really what it used to fucking mean. So what does this mean for you? Fuck, I mean, I haven't gotten that far yet. I mean, I'm still trying to figure out what this shit means for me. Like, this is kind of a crazy realization, right? Because if you're in a romantic relationship that's monogamous, and actually that's going to be a topic for another video, like monogamy versus polygamy, what's better? Who the fuck knows? We'll see. But for right now, let's assume you're in a strict monogamous relationship. I'm not sure how today's video can help you. I'm not sure if it can help you, but maybe it can, like, maybe just give a different perspective on things. Maybe you can have some more compassion for yourself, right? Like, maybe you've had that voice in your head that's like, why do I fear my partner abandoning me so much? Like, why do I fear them cheating on me so much? And maybe you've criticized yourself for that. Maybe you've invalidated yourself. Maybe you've been like, man, I really shouldn't. Like, why am I not stronger? Like, why am I not more resilient? Like, why does this cause me so much angst and anxiety? Like, why can't I just let this shit go? I do that all the fucking time, right? Well, now maybe you can have a little bit of compassion and understanding for yourself that what you're experiencing is a very, very deep, to some extent, a fear of death. Totally valid, man. Totally valid. That you're really fucking afraid of being alone and being dead. Oh, and also, by the way, loneliness, right? We talked about first prong is fear of being alone. Loneliness used to mean death, right? Because banishment led to loneliness, which led to death. So they kind of both the fear of loneliness and the fear of being inferior to another guy that your partner chose over you, both of those, by the way, if you're a woman, it's reversed, right? You know, your partner choosing another girl over you. I don't mean to make this just about men. It's not. It's about both genders here. But they're both really about fear of death, fear of loneliness, and fear of inferiority, fear of being inferior, fear of being inadequate. All comes back to being lonely, which used to mean death for our ancestors. So have some compassion for yourself. Yeah, just sit in the compassion. Fuck. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, compassion. So show some for yourself. And if you're really having that much of a fear of your partner cheating on you, I would just have an open conversation about it. And also just remember, like, that fear of death is really deeply encoded, but part of the beautiful thing about your brain is that it has the capacity for change to a very large degree. And I think it's a good opportunity to, when you feel that fear, practice mindfulness, be aware of it, identify it in real time, acknowledge it, validate it, have compassion, remind yourself, hey, it's okay to feel this way, and then gently redirect yourself, like reframe it to, you're okay, you're safe. Even the worst case scenario, remember, practice negative visualization. Even the worst case scenario of your partner cheating on you and you being alone, it's not the hunter-gatherer times. You're not going to die. You are safe. You are worthy of love and affection. If they don't give it to you, that's their loss. You will find someone else. Or you won't, and you'll have great friends, whatever, right? You know what I mean? Like, you will be loved by someone that might not be romantically, right? I'm facing this right now. Like, who knows if I'm cut out for a romantic relationship? Honestly, I don't really fucking know. I'm still figuring that out. But at the very fucking least, you can have beautiful friends. And that's not the least, because friendship is beautiful. I've talked about that before. Friendship is the fucking closest thing we have to unconditional love. So if you have that, you have what you need. You have what you need. It's fucking beautiful, right? So practice that negative visualization. Accept the worst case scenario. You're not going to die. You'll just be alone. But you don't have to be alone if you don't want to. You're always in control of your own life. You can go and seek a new partner. And that's if the worst case scenario happens, right? We're talking worst case scenario. It may very well be that your partner never cheats on you, right? And in that case, just keep working on identifying those thoughts, having compassion, practicing the negative visualization, accepting and letting go of the attachment, not necessarily the partner, but attachment to just life. Let go of control a little bit, you know? We're not in control. We think we're in control, but control is an illusion. let go. Just accept that your partner is a free agent. They could leave at any moment. And if they do, you are a resilient human. You will find a way to continue on. And in the meantime, you do have your partner. And that's beautiful. Exercise gratitude for that and continue practicing that process over and over and over. Just identify the emotion, practice mindfulness, compassion, redirect negative visualization, let go, be at peace with the worst case scenario, find resilience and inner strength that always exists in you, and then return to the present and exercise gratitude for the fact that that worst case scenario has not happened yet. Fuck yeah. I think that's a good place to close it. I'm going to leave you with this beautiful sunset. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give it a like and subscribe to the channel for more content. My name is Avi, and I wish you just a beautiful Friday night of love and compassion and connection with others. See you later.